Hey guys, once again, how are you? Thanks for joining us. I see the room is getting packer and packed. Hello, can we get started?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Ladies.
So, I want to ask you guys 3 questions. This blue book that I'm holding up in my hand is called Saving Your Future. This book literally changes people's financial future. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is even more powerful. Many of us do not have much, and so we do not know much. The 3 questions that I'm going to ask you right now is, do you know how much money you need to have when you retire? Does anyone know how much money, or how to calculate how much money they need when they're going to be in retirement?
No.
Good. 1 question. The answer is no. The second question when it comes to your personal finance, do you know how much money you will need every month in retirement?
No.
And the last question, do you know, with regard to your retirement, how much money you need to be saving today, every month, towards your retirement? Because we need to be saving. We're going to grow old. And worst case scenario, if we die before we get old, we want to create a legacy that we can pass something on from generation to generation, because other cultures have been doing this. And it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to give you guys a quick formula to calculate and have the answers for all 3 of those questions. Because many of you, how many of you, by the way, by show of hand, are currently employed, have a job, W-2, and how many of you are self-employed? More self-employed. Now, for those of you that are self-employed, what's your retirement strategy? Is anyone saving who is self-employed or employed, saving for their future? And what's your strategy? Because if you're going to tell me that your strategy is your job 401k, if you're going to tell me that your strategy is your pension, think again. It's not enough. I say this with utmost confidence because I'm sitting with families every day. It's not enough. I just sat with a family in January who retired. 65 is the wife. The father is 68. They're retired. They've worked here for 40-something years. But guess what? Their shocking, sad reality, when I sit with them and I crunch their numbers, they're going to be broke in 10 years. But they have a pension. But they have a 401k. How is that possible? I bring it back to the first 3 questions I asked in the beginning. How is that possible that you have a pension, you have a 401k, you have an IRA, or for those of you that are self-employed, you probably don't even have anything, or you may have a SEP IRA. So how could you have all of those things and still you're going to be broke in your retirement? How do you know how much you need to have? The 10-20 rule. It's in this book. The 1%ers know what's in this book. People who are financially literate know what's in this book. This is why the rich get richer, because they have information or they know more than the mass know. So the 10-20 rule is simple, and I'll break it down. You want to have take your annual income. If you're making $50,000, multiply that by 20 years. Statistics show that it takes us about 20 years after we retire that we're going to need to have money to take care of us in our 60s, in our 70s, in our 80s, and the longer we live, it's a good problem, right? To be alive. reality today is that many people are fearing that they're going to outlive whatever they've saved up. And whatever they've saved up, with utmost confidence, it's not enough. So when you know the 10-20 rule, when you take your annual income and you multiply that by 20, that is the number you need to be aiming and saving towards. Now, it will be a daunting number. So if you're making $50,000, multiply that by 20 years. How much is that?
$1 million.
$1 million. So you're going to say, but Odetta, where am I going to get $1 million from? If you read this blue book, you know how to make that strategy happen for yourself. So it's a combination of a different streams of income. You may have your 401k, you may have your IRA, you may have some life insurance. Yes, life insurance, not whole, not term. So if you have whole or you have term, you need to read what's in this book, because that is not going to get you with nothing. So the wealthy people who are financially solid, people who understand how money works, life insurance, not term, not whole, is one of the most best ways to create wealth. So let's talk about wealth. Does anyone know what is the wealth formula?
No.
Does anyone know what's the wealth formula?
No.
It's simple. It's in this book. It's all in this book. So the wealth formula talks about 5 things. You need money, not a lot, but you do need money. Whatever you can save, start with saving, because you're going to need money. So it starts with money. Second part is time. You got to give your money time to grow. If all you can save is $10 a day, $10 a day, 30 years, guess what? If you know where to put it, in this book, you sit in on $500,000. That's just with one strategy. So when I ask people, how is your retirement looking? Or better yet, your kids. We want our kids to go to college, right? But what's their strategy? Listen, I teach in 2 top universities here in New York. The first semester, when I polled my students, and I said, how many of you have student loans? 90% of the class raised their hands. Why? Because their parents don't know what I know. Their parents want them to go to school, but they didn't prepare for them to go to school. So we are putting our kids through college, and they're coming out with the size of a mortgage in student loan. And that sets them back when they start working, because I tell my students, you are not graduating from NYU. You are not graduating from St. John and gonna make $60,000 or $100,000. But guess what? Your student loan in 1 year is $60,000. Multiply that by 4. This past semester, 1 student out of a class of 60 told me that they're student loan free. And I said, okay, that's awesome. Do you mind sharing with the rest of the class what happened? His parents been saving for him from birth. So all those elaborate birthday parties and shower, you may want to re-strategize and reposition how you're spending your money. Because if we want our kids to graduate and we want to set them up to be successful, we've got to do our part more so they can graduate. So now let's continue with the wealth formula. So what are the 2 things we said we need? Money and time. You need some money, give that money time to grow. And the third piece is very, very important, the rate of interest. Where you're putting your money has to outpace inflation, and it has to outpace taxes. So most of you right now, where are you putting your money? If you're putting your money in the bank, you need to read this blue book. Because the bank is giving you 0.0 something. Yeah. And even if the giving you 2%, if you understand how money works, you are losing to the money game. Because you may have $1 million sitting in the bank, and the bank knows what's in this blue book, and they're putting your million somewhere else and getting 20 and 30%. And they're giving you 1%. Now, most banks are not even giving you 1%. So the wealth formula, you need money. You give your money time to grow. Put your money somewhere that's going to give you a high rate of interest. Watch inflation and watch tax. Your inflation and your tax needs to be lesser than the rate of return. So right now, the country's national inflation is about 3 and 3 1/4. So if you have your money right now sitting anywhere that's not giving you at least 4 and higher, I'm sorry to say, but you're losing the money game. Inflation, taxes is eating you up. That's the equivalent of many, many years ago, you going to the store and buying a bag of chips per quarter. Today, that same bag of chips is 99 cents or $1 or more. That's inflation. So, I want to remind you and impart you with if you do these 2 things, you understand the wealth formula, you know how to calculate how much money you'll need in retirement, the 10-20 rule. Take your annual income, multiply that by 20 years. That is the number you need to be aiming for when it comes to how much you'll need in retirement. Now, of course, that's going to continue to change because if you make more money, it increases. If you make less, it decreases. But you have a target, you have a number, what to aim at. Now you can go back to your HR, for those of you who have a 401k or a pension IRA, and look at those numbers. Numbers don't lie. So, if you want to know more, get with someone like myself or Tracy, and let's help you navigate so you can win the money game. So you can stack your coins. So you can set yourself free so that you can retire comfortable and not have to retire and work 2 days a week because you didn't have enough saved up. Or not be like one of my students that are 75% of my audience right now at one of the colleges that I teach are retirees. It's a little late for them, but they're still showing up to try to get this knowledge. You do not want to be in that position. And with that being said, that's my segment on helping you understand how money works, helping you understand why you need to save more, because if nothing else, we're all going to grow old and we need retirement. And if we have kids, we need to be doing more so that our kids can graduate with 0 debt. Because you'll know what it's like to have debt. You'll know what it's like to be paying student loan and you being finished with school years ago. But the student loans are still there. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful, Odetta. You guys clap it up for her. She did a wonderful job. Does anybody have any questions? The name of the book. What's the name of the book?
Saving Your Future, and you cannot purchase it anywhere. It's proprietary to our organization, so do get with me and we'll make sure you get a free copy. Saving Your Future.
She said a free copy, right? Okay, so everybody in this room should be going to see Odetta after to get a copy of her book, okay? The name of your company?
World Financial Group. We are on a mission to empower 1 million families by 2020 to be financially free, financially literate, because when you know the money game, everything else, if it happens, you're in a better position to deal with it, whatever happens.
We have a question here really quick.
Yeah, you were saying that the bank will give you no interest on your money, but when you go to the bank, they said, okay, you're getting 2% or 3% on what you're putting in. Why is it that?
Well, the bank is in business to make money for themselves. The bank gives us safety. How many of you are getting more than 1% in a regular savings or check-in? No one, or very few. You gotta be you gotta have a lot of money I have a client that has $2 million cash sitting in the bank, and she's getting 1%, and she thinks she's doing awesome. Banks are not there for interest. They give us safety. It's a place for us to put our money and to pay bills and make day-to-day transactions. So, which brings me to another good valid point. Yes, we do need to use the banks. We do need to put money in the banks, but how much? Most of your money, when it comes to an investment, should not be sitting in the bank, because the bank, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million, they're going to give you that 1 or 2%. You need to know where to put your money to outpace inflation to give you higher interest.
So you go back to the olden days to invest your money?
What's the older days?
Put it on your mattress.
That's even worse. So she said, should we go back to the older days and put in the money under the mattress? That's actually worse, because at least you're not even getting the 0 point something%. But knowledge is power. This is why we need to empower ourselves and know how the money game works. Because if you're going to put your money under the mattress, you're clearly even losing. And if you put all of it in the bank and you're getting 0.0 whatever, you're still losing. Now, the information is out there, but who knows it? Who knows it. And who doesn't, they'll perish. Because the information is out there. This is why the rich get richer. Because they know what others don't know.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And I know you guys may have a couple more questions. That's totally cool. Please see her. She'll be walking around. Please talk to her and ask her a couple of questions. And make sure you get a copy of her book. Okay, guys? Thank you so much, Odetta. We appreciate you.
Awesome job,
Awesome.
girl.
Now, next up, what we want you guys to do, of course, is to enjoy your food. We don't want to rush you while you're eating. Please take your time.